the moment it finds a meaning. So I think if we can use all the stable times of our life to establish, learn about God, perceive his signs, build a relationship, then we won't be distracted when we're feeling joyful with earthly things, and we won't be rejecting him in times of pain. So I thought
that's right. So if we have a good relationship during the good time, then during the sufferings, we don't feel it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you're climbing a mountain, if you didn't think there was a top to it and there was no view, it'd be all suffering. But when you're doing it because you want to, it's actually fun.
Good, thank you.
But it is hard to get up in the in middle of the night to look after the baby, but it is joyful because we love our babies. So I think because of love, we endure many things, and we don't see it as suffering, because we know whatever comes to us, it is for our own good. Yeah.
And we learn to accept. Thank you.
Whatever that comes to our experiences can be divided into two. One is either a suffering or a pain, other one is a pleasure. And the challenge in life for each and everybody on earth, or human being for that matter, is to turn the suffering over into the pleasure compartment. And how do we do that? Right? The suffering comes two ways. One is, as someone described, it's by our ego, comparing ourselves with others and wanting, greedy and everything. That is from the point of view of, I think, as Sachi said, we are not content with what the earth or the nature offers to us. We want more. We want like the other rich person to be. So that brings a lot of suffering. So we need to let go the me and the ego and other things. But the other suffering comes from diseases, accidents, pain, when we fall sick and all sorts of things, or family issues, and thereafter when our children or something happens to them, or death, or so many other things. So I think it's a matter of, it's more than an art than a science to convert the pain into pleasure, and that is in everybody's hands, and each one has the capability if they have put their mind to it. That's what I would say.
Could I say something, Shiva? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's a topic that you can go on and on, because it's something that human beings struggle with for a long time, from the time probably the man started thinking, or human beings started rationalizing things. But just to categorize, I would say that suffering could come in many ways. Natural disasters, catastrophes can bring about suffering. Suffering to individuals, suffering to collective people, or to a country, or with pandemic. It's sort of comes from nature in some way. It affects everyone. But there are sufferings that are caused by other people to, when someone hurts the other, or the parents don't care for the children or neglected their children. I was seeing a program where kids who played up and ended up in prisons are coming from homes where they lack love. People have, the responsibility of the parents or even the community or society that caused suffering to children, young people, and then, suffering could come that way. So then when we were talking about personal suffering, whatever way it came to us, it was personal suffering. And how are we handling that? I appreciate what was said. There is suffering in the world, and that has to be accepted, acknowledged. And how do we live through it? How do we handle it? How do we surmount it? How do we come out of it and become better people, better loving people, caring people, character building that was said earlier by Doris, those are the things that we were talking about. But one of the topics that we're talking was, creation versus evolution. So that has some correlation, but we talk about suffering as something that is real. And but I'm worried about the suffering that is caused by big countries, leaders of countries, and the climate change at the moment going to cause a lot of problems, irresponsible leadership, and people of power. Those things affect collectively, and a lot of people become poor and poorer, and poor people suffer even with illness. So that is something that has to be looked at as well. But personal suffering, you said, right, it's fantastic. I mean, I agree with the way that you put how human beings handle it. The one more thing to say, we are talking about faith, not about knowledge in that way. We are looking through the eyes of faith, through different religions, which is the way to to handle things. And so suffering comes in many ways, and we can't run away. We have to live through it, but we can't change it because some of the suffering beyond us, or most of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are getting closer to 9 o'clock.
All right. Okay.
We may
Thank
have
you
to
very
close,
much.
but it
Thank
was
you.
very good. I have a small question or small point that everyone was contributing for us to understand what is suffering, whether it is from the religious point of view or otherwise. Now, if I see two people or two young boys, children, they are running in the field and they both fell down and they both got up, but one was crying and the other one was smiling. Do we think the one who was smiling is unusual? And why? The point that I'm trying to make is that we feel if the boy is crying, we think that is natural. He would have been in pain or something like that because we had similar experience. If we didn't have that similar experience, we wouldn't realize that other people's suffering. So at least one thing that suffering teaches us is that how others are suffering. Anyway, thank you for everyone participating, and it was beautiful and very constructive comments and things like that. We don't conclude, there's no ending to any of these discussions, but at
Thank you
least
very much.
our consciousness has expanded, or it made us to think a little bit more than we used to think.
Yeah.
And thank you, Merina.
Thank you, Merina.
Really,
Thank you.
really
Thank you.
have
Thank
gone
you,
through.
Sachi.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Patti.
Thank you very much.
And thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sachi.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for coming, and Lawrence.
Yeah, thank you. It's, I enjoyed. Yeah.
So hope to see you next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Fal.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Looking
Thank you.
forward
Bye.
to see you next week.
See
Good
you
night.
next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.